Hello, my goddesses and gods, my kings and queens. Yes, you are the ruler of your own personal empire. And in this podcast, Athena's Wisdom will embark on a journey to explore the timeless wisdom of the ancients, the advancements of modern science, and the mystical art of magic, so that we can create together a practical path for you to harness your true power and achieve a life of health, wealth, and abundance as the ruler of your own personal kingdom. I'm your host, Athena Alaya. In today's episode, we'll focus on cultivating an internal landscape that promotes peace, harmony, happiness, and abundance on every level. We'll start by discussing the spiritual principles that will be our guideposts. Then I'll teach you how to rewire your brain, creating the foundation to manifest anything and everything in your life that you desire. Finally, I'll share with you some practical, magical techniques that anyone on any level can use to enhance their life and bring forth success in every area. So go ahead and grab a cup of tea, settle into your favorite chair, and let's take a deep dive into Athena's wisdom. So, many of you who are watching this podcast today have heard of things like The Secret, manifestation, bringing things into your life by utilizing ideas such as gratitude, cultivating one's consciousness, and essentially utilizing what is termed as a law of attraction to bring forth and manifest things into your life. So while the principles of that sound very accessible, the manner by which to make that happen is often very difficult for people because many of us struggle with insecurities, stresses and anxieties, traumas, difficult and complex relationships that make it hard for us to maintain the type of internal landscape that we need to bring goodness into our life. And so today, what I'm going to do is teach you the science behind changing and rewiring your physical brain in order to help promote that fundamental level of consciousness that you need in order to manifest in your life, or as I like to say, unveil, because in my personal perspective, everything is already there. It just needs to be unveiled or revealed. And then I will also teach you a practical magical technique that even if you are unfamiliar with the art and practice of magic, you can utilize for yourself. And if you are familiar with magical practice, you can utilize it as a fundamental formula and build on it with other aspects of your own personal practice or techniques in order to empower and magnify it. So let's first move into the fundamental principle behind what is known in our modern area as the law of attraction. In magic, there are something called magical formula. I like to look at this as mathematics, and in my perspective, mathematics is the language of nature. At the root of the law of attraction is what I would call a master formula. I'm going to repeat that. It's a master formula from which many other formula or corollary formulae are derived. So this makes it incredibly powerful. And while we call it the law of attraction in the modern day era, The primary principle behind it is the master formula: as above, so below. Or, as I like to rephrase it, as within, so without. So now this plays into what people commonly hear about the law of attraction, which is in order to effortlessly bring abundance and wealth into your life, you have to change what's inside, right? When you change what's inside, it gets reflected on the outside. And this is the principle behind everything that we're speaking about today, which is that whatever we're experiencing on the outside is just a mere reflection of what's on the inside. Now, you may say, okay, well, what does being on the inside mean? And that's a very good question, because when we close our eyes and we attune with ourselves, one of the things that we'll notice is there are a lot of different things going on inside of us. And sometimes those things are very conflicting, right? And this hinders our ability to attract, manifest, unveil, reveal, or even just, it modifies our perception of life, right? Many of us have had the experience of falling in love with someone or getting a crush on someone, but the mind tells us, oh, no, 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 right? There's red flags everywhere. So the intellectual part of our brain is telling us, no, no, you don't want to go there. But the heart, right? The heart wants what the heart wants. And this is an example of how, what's happening inside of us can be conflicting, right? And what we want is we want everything inside of us to be aligned. So in order for that, we actually have to go deeper and understand that what is at the root of what we call inside is not our thoughts or our emotions or even the physical sensations that we may feel, but is founded on a fundamental, basic state of consciousness from which every other experience arises. And the term for this that I like to use is pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is the state of consciousness that if you were to sit in meditation and transcend all of your thoughts, feelings, senses, emotions, anything that essentially gives you an experience, what you would find is that it would be pure awareness, just pure awareness with no quality attributed to it. Only when something stimulates that field of pure consciousness does a sensation or an experience arise. So I want you to think about this in terms of something like a body of water. When you go and look at a lake or the ocean, you see how there's fluctuations on the top of the water. But if you were to go down a little bit deeper, there'd be some eddies that maybe you could feel, currents that you could get pulled under. But the deeper you go, the water becomes almost completely still. This would be due, scientifically speaking, to the pressure gradients. This is how our field of consciousness essentially works. At the fundamental level of pure consciousness, is completely still, and it's the sensation. Well, I can't even say sensation, right? But it's just it's just a pure awareness. And then as something stimulates it from the outside, these currents and eddies start to begin. And this might be a good example of this is, have you ever had the experiences of having a thought just on the tip of your tongue, but you know it, but you can't just quite get it out? That's that stimulation at a deeper level of your consciousness that has yet to manifesting come into fruition, right? So that would be that level of like the eddies and the currents. And then as it finally, bubbles up to the surface, right? That's when you have the fluctuations, the waves, the sensations, the feelings, the thoughts, the words to describe what has been being cultivated at the deeper level. So why is this important? This is important because the state of pure consciousness that exists within every one of us is the consciousness of the divine. And that is why you have the ability to tap into it and empower yourself on every single level, and why we say in the spiritual traditions that we are all part of the divine. However, you want to define that, fundamentally speaking, at the most basic level, there's no difference between us and God. We are God collectively together. And each one of us is a microcosmic aspect of the macrocosmic God. And we all have the ability to tap into that divine part of ourselves and to live a life of goodness and happiness, which is our divine right. I'm going to say that again. It's your divine right to live a life of peace, happiness, wealth, abundance, and goodness. And so, without going too far down a rabbit hole, why then do we experience the opposite? It's because we don't identify with our divine self. We identify with the world out there. And so the world rules us. We don't rule what's going on around us. We let it rule us. Somebody says something and it hurts our feelings, they rule us. We're having a stressful day at work and we let it impact the rest of our day and we yelling at our kids. That's ruled us. That has taken control of us. And so, first and foremost, we have to learn how to reclaim our kingdoms. We have to reclaim our kingdoms. And that's one of the reasons why I'm starting this podcast, because I recognize that we can talk philosophically about the spiritual arts and magical arts all day, but if we don't learn how to reclaim our kingdoms, then we never build the confidence enough within ourselves to go through the deeper transformations that we need to unify with the divine. So I want to teach you some techniques so that you can learn how to be confident in your life every day and use that confidence to allow yourself then to engage in the deeper spiritual transformations that you need to let go of the things that are ruling you and to reclaim your own personal power and live the life that you deserve. Okay, so now that we've talked about the fundamental principle behind the law of attraction, which is known by the ancients as above, so below, and essentially identifies within that particular quote the fact that we are all divine and that our base level of consciousness is the same as that of the divine, and that's where we derive our power. I want to now move into some techniques that you can utilize, which are scientifically based, to help rewire your brain. Okay. Why do we need to do that? Our brain is like the central processing unit of everything, physically speaking, right? And if you look into neuroscience, and you can do some, Google searches and stuff, right? You don't have to be a PhD to find this information out. It's well known. There's been many articles for the lay person, that discuss this concept of what is known as mental flexibility. What that is not just about, you're learning how to think flexibly, essentially, it's about how the brain remodels itself based on experience. So our brains, the way that they function is your brain gathers in all of the information that's coming out. It's constantly being bombarded with information, but it has to filter that out for your own personal mental health, well-being, and survival. And so it filters out information that it doesn't think that it needs, and it gathers information that it does. And this is how we create biases for ourselves. A really good example of this is of how the brain changes physically speaking based on our experience, is the practice that some people have of teaching their children foreign languages or mathematics when they're very, very young. When you're born, your brain is literally open to everything. It's trying to figure out exactly what experiences it needs, what experiences it can kind of put on the back burner or even completely ignore. And so it's much easier for small children to learn a number of different foreign languages because the brain hasn't shut itself down to sounds that it doesn't need. If, for example, you grow up in a primarily English speaking home and you don't learn any other languages, then the sounds of those languages, many of which are tonal languages, like Mandarin Chinese, for example, or Greek is another tonal language, the brain doesn't need that. It doesn't need those slight variations. And so it kind of shuts down those centers that would be able to effectively hear those sounds because it doesn't need it, right? The body, the brain is trying to maximize its energy usage every day and be the most effective and efficient organism. So that's an example, right? It shuts down those centers, and then other centers, grow larger and create what are known as neural bundles. So every experience that you have creates a neural connection. And if you continue to have the same or a similar experience, you create what's known as a neural bundle. And this is a physical mass within your brain. And this is actually what makes it so difficult for people to overcome bad habits because, especially chemically based ones like nicotine addictions, because once your body has purified from that chemical, you still have to fight against the physical mass in your brain that has been built over years and years of you smoking a cigarette and doing this whole thing. If you smoke 20 cigarettes a day, you probably do this, 5 to 10 times per cigarette. Let's just say you do it 10 times. You take a puff 10 times off of one cigarette. 20 cigarettes a day, that's 200 times you're doing this, right? A day times 365 days a year. I'm just going to do the math real quick. Let's check it out. Let's see. Mercury's in retrograde, so nothing is working. Okay, 365 times 200, that's 73,000 times approximately a year that you're doing this, right? I really can't think of hardly any other things that a person might do that many times a year. They say that nicotine addiction is almost as bad as heroin addiction, just doesn't have the same horrific negative impacts, acutely that heroin does, but it does have terrible long stream effects on a person. So I digress. Physical neural bundle, right? You've done that 73,000 times a year for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. That's a pretty huge mass. And that's why it's difficult to overcome that, right? But you can change that. You can change that for yourself. You can change almost anything, right? And I don't say that lightly because I am someone who is neurodivergent. I like to say non-neurotypical. Um, I, having biochemical challenges throughout my life, I understand that sometimes those biochemicals can overcome what is normal and rational, right? And almost supersede the wiring of the brain. But what I've also learned is that utilizing practices to help rewire your brain makes it more likely that you'll react, behave, and perceive in different manners rather than allowing the biochemicals to. So now that you have an understanding that the brain can be rewired, how it does that is through experience. Okay. And I really want you guys to understand this. If you think about things like traumas, um, or other challenges in your life, right? Many of the habits, insecurities, perspectives, perceptions that we have are based on years and years and years of reaffirming the same thing experientially or by reinforcing the same thing, even though it's not happening, with our thoughts and perceptions that we may have developed, utilizing a defense mechanism that's no longer necessary or needed for us. Okay. So we have to learn how to incorporate new experiences into our life. And that becomes a lot more difficult as we get older and we're working in careers, we have children, relationships, the various daily tasks of lives, because we're spending so much time and energy and mental energy on all those other things that we're barely spending any time on ourselves. And so we have to work in ways throughout the day, as well as leverage the most important times of the day in which we can maximize the rewiring of our brain. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over some techniques that you can utilize, and then I'm going to finish with a magical technique to really help drive that home. So these are some things that I personally like to utilize as my morning routine that helps to really facilitate the remodeling of my brain, as well as to reinforce the remodeling that I'm achieving. And it all goes in to the fundamental principle, as above, so below, and can be easily leveraged throughout the day. But for people who are just starting out, what you really want to do is focus on consistency. Focusing on the consistency is going to help to replace the consistency that was there, that wired your brain to have negative thoughts, insecurities, disempowering thoughts that hold on to trauma. That's been there throughout the years because it's been consistently reinforced. Okay. So the first thing that I have found to be incredibly helpful is leveraging the part of the morning where I'm just waking up. Scientifically speaking, when you're waking up in the morning, it is your limbic system which is most active. So the frontal lobe is the analytical part of your brain that does calculations, determines the plans for the day, strategizes, etc. The majority of the brain is associated with your limbic system. And so that makes up 80% of your brain. Okay. So when you're fighting against your limbic system, then it makes life much more difficult. Okay. And the limbic system is a part of your brain that kind of, it kicks into place once the analytical brain has done its work and it doesn't need to do it anymore. The limbic system kind of kicks in to take over. Okay. A good example of this is when you start a new job and you start driving to work, you're on a new route. It's the analytical part of the brain that's evaluating all the information to determine if that's the best route, how that route is working, what the route is. what time you're getting there, right? Once you've done that a few times and you're confident and you got it on lock and you're probably looking at Facebook or something at the stoplight, that's when your limbic system kicks in. You're not even thinking about it. You're just doing it, right? You're not even thinking about it with this part of your brain anymore. That's the part that's active in the morning as you're just waking up. This part is your brain is also associated with your subconscious, which is the most powerful part of your brain. Your subconscious is the most powerful part of your conscious experience because it makes up the majority of it. So think about those pictures you may have seen of the iceberg, where most of it's underwater and just a little tip is on top of the water. The tip, frontal lobe, the rest of it, your limbic system and subconscious mind. It makes up the bulk of your fundamental experiences. And therefore, leveraging it is incredibly powerful. So, as you wake up, what you want to do, leveraging that part of your mind, is to enter into a state of gratitude, of thankfulness, just thinking, anything positive that helps you to bring yourself into the day with a positive attitude where you're feeling good about yourself. You're being grateful for things. None of this, oh God, I gotta get up. Oh, I gotta go to work. Oh, the kid's crying. No, you have to retrain yourself out of those thoughts. If the first thing you're thinking when you wake up is, freaking got to go to work, you're not setting yourself up for success. and if you want, there's lots of like little, there's things on YouTube, right? I like to wake up sometimes to healing sound bath music, Hertz tone music, meditations, some morning hypnotherapy, from a trusted resource. There's subliminals out there that I also love to use. But what you want to not do is just be overthinking. You don't want to, when you first wake up in the morning, you get a little bit of an adrenaline rush because everything's kind of coming online, right? All your organ systems and stuff, right? So you don't want to start overthinking about what you have to do that day right away, or you're going to get yourself trapped in anxiety and you're going to be wiring your brain to be ready for anxiety that's following you out throughout the whole day. Okay. You want to be rewiring your brain to experience peace, happiness, joy, goodness, success, right? Affirmations, praying, even just praying to the divine in any way that, resonates with you is a wonderful, beautiful option. But you want to spend those first moments every single morning allowing yourself to wake up into a state of peace and harmony. And so, maybe put a little reminder on your phone, maybe a different ringtone. I used to suffer from chronic anxiety, and it was difficult to retrain myself to do that because I woke up like totally stressed every single day. But giving myself a different trigger, right? A different ringtone. I stepped away from those crappy built-in phone ones and moved to music, that helped me. You know. So it's simple, right? And it makes sense, but it's also scientifically based, right? You are incorporating feelings of gratitude, joy, peace, divinity, success, self-love, etc., wealth, abundance, if you're trying to manifest something specifically, not stressing out though, not, I need to manifest $3,000 for rent. That's going against, okay? Incorporate that, empower yourself through 80% of your brain that's being utilized right then and there. And the rewiring of your brain is going to happen a lot faster. Also, falling asleep that way, as you fall asleep, into your dream state, doing the same thing, very, very beneficial. Now you get the back end of the front end every day, fall asleep, grateful. You wake up, grateful, fall asleep with love abundant in your heart. You wake up with love abundant in your heart. It makes a big difference. Then after that, I highly recommend carving out as much as you can the first period of your day, for yourself. I know that's hard when you have young kids, right? But even if it's in the shower, you lock yourself in the bathroom, to drop the kids off at the pool or whatnot. I look at it like men do it. They're in there 45 minutes. I'm like, why aren't women doing that? Lock yourself in the bathroom, ladies. Give yourself time for you. Why? Because you need to communicate to yourself that you are important. You spend all this time all day long on everything else, everyone else. When do you communicate you are important? You do it early in the day, first thing every day. You communicate to your subconscious that you are important, you are worthy, you deserve self-care, you deserve peace. And then you have built now on that foundation of waking up and creating and cultivating a peaceful, happy, abundant internal landscape by reinforcing it with giving yourself some time, in the shower, put some oils on, listen to some music that you like, do something that you enjoy, not something you need to do something that you enjoy. First thing, as soon as you can, every single day. Now we're going to get into the magical stuff. But I will just say, those are just a couple techniques, right? There are a couple techniques that, based on scientific experimentation, will help you to cultivate that landscape. You want to do it first thing in the day and try to bring that with you as much as possible throughout the day. And take little breaks throughout the day to reconnect with yourself. And then utilize that, after you've mastered that, utilize that idea, right? To build those spaces throughout your day for yourself to reattune, get in touch, reaffirm, right? The idea is that you end up cultivating a streamlined, consistent baseline of happiness and abundance in your life. That even when stressors, and other things come up, you're able to manage them more effectively and with less stress because your brain is rewiring and you have the habit, that you have been developing, incorporating for yourself of peace, love, abundance, success, well-being, beauty, magnetism, whatever it is you bringing into your life, you're cultivating that all the time. So it's consistent. Okay, let's get into the magic, baby. All right. So for this, what you're going to need is a piece of paper. And, I'll talk a little bit about energetic synastry. But I really want these techniques to be practical for you to utilize whenever. So what you'll need is just a piece of paper. I got this little note card here and a pen, right? Once I explain the technique to you, if you want to enhance it by using different colored papers, candles, scents, planetary magics, anything that works for you, you can. But this is basic, it's simple, and it's effective. And, for those of you out there who have practiced magic, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But, one thing that I've noticed is as I've developed as a magician over the year, the most powerful techniques actually tend to be the simplest. Doing the big Rococo rituals, all lovely and fun, enjoyable, and definitely very elevating. But I've also found over time not necessarily necessary. So for those of you who think you got to do all this big stuff to make magic work for you, I'll say, no, you don't. You can do simple magics that are incredibly powerful because they allow you to maintain your focus on a certain energy. So we've woke up to an abundant state of consciousness. We spent time on ourselves to reinforce the idea that we are living in a constant state of abundance in the divine, that we deserve goodness, health, well-being, everything in our life. And now it's time for the magic. So this will be great on a variety of different levels because it essentially incorporates what you need to do for your daily planning in with magic. Why are we doing daily planning and not something else like bring me tons of money? Because if you don't feel successful in your daily activities in life, it's very difficult to feel confident that you can manifest great wealth, abundance, heal yourself from a severe disease state, bring the love of your life, right? These are, right? People start talking about that stuff. It's like, right? It's almost like so far out there, the common person just can't even imagine what it's like, to do that. It's very difficult to manifest things into your life that A, you have no real conception of, and B, you don't have the confidence to bring a little thing in, let alone a big thing. So we start with our daily life, okay, bringing success into our daily life. So what I do is I get a piece of paper out, and now in my state of peace and not anxiety, I write down the most important things that I need to accomplish for the day. And I strive to keep the list short. I'm a Virgo. I could have lists on lists on lists, but I try to keep it between 3 to 5 things that are the most important, that have the most impact on my success for the day. Write it in the middle here. Okay. And then now here you have a little bit of play, okay, depending on your personal belief system. If you don't associate or attribute yourself to any particular religious or spiritual system, you can merely put on here, the divine, the Lord of the universe, the one, the God and goddess, the masculine, the ultimate divine, masculine, feminine. You could keep it very general and high level. If you are, practicing a particular spiritual or religious tradition, this is where you would want to choose particular like a names or symbols associated with wealth, abundance, that are symbolic, to you. For example, if you are a, someone who practices Christianity, for example, of which I'll state magic is not against Christianity. We can have that conversation another day. Certain types of magic are, and they're known as sorcery, actually, not actually magic. So, if you're a Christian or, and you connect with Yeshua or the Holy Mother, or the Holy Spirit, you can write that on the card. In the corners, here's we're going to write it. Okay. If you follow a particular pantheon, right, choose names associated with that. For my list here, I chose Zeus and Aphrodite because Zeus is associated with Jupiter, planet of abundance. Aphrodite, love and attraction, wealth, pleasure, etc. Athena, of course, who is my my personal patroness to empower me personally. And then, the name of the Holy Mother of Creation. Okay. And then I wrote their symbols. I drew their symbols on the corners, right? So I like to do 4 corners. You could do 2. You could do one, and maybe put it above or below to kind of encompass it if it's just one, like Yeshua. But I find the four corners technique works best. And then once you have chosen your names, you draw arrow towards your goals for the day. Okay. So that you symbolically, the energy of those names, those divine entities are being projected into your goals and aims for the day. Okay. And you can do this too, if you want to do a monthly ritual for yourself, a weekly ritual, an annual ritual, totally can do it. I like to do it every day because it gives me the ability as a Virgo to kind of lay out what's most important and empower it every day. And as I said, consistency is, that's what really counts. Mathers, one of the original founders of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn tradition, said to invoke and invoke often. That's the principle of consistency, right? Every time you get in touch with an energy that's higher than yourself, it elevates your energy and purifies your energy and helps you to continue elevating and purifying up to, the highest. Okay. So consistency is very, very helpful. All right. And it trains you too, right? It trains you in those arts to be more aware and connected and in touch with the delicacies of those particular energies. All right. So once you have your paper, what you would do then is place it under a candle. Or if you're going to be leaving the house for the day or something, you could choose an icon, a religious icon, a statue, something that is has a potent energy associated with the divine for you. I like to utilize a candle. I work from home. This is where you could use different colored candles for yourself, different oils, scents, etc. But the light of the candle represents that divine light, and placing it under the candle allows for that to be a symbol for your mind of the divine light permeating essentially your intention. Okay. So once you've done that, place it on your altar, or a nice clean space. Okay. I really highly suggest creating and cultivating a divine space for yourself in the house. And then you're going to place your hands over it, and you're going to visualize, a white energy. We call this divine white brilliance. This is the energy of the divine over your crown chakra, okay? Descending into you and flowing out of your arms, okay? And then flowing out of the palm of your hands, and you're going to project it onto the paper, and you're going to go over your intentions for the day. And then you'll say a prayer, or what we would call an invocation, and you'll call upon the divine names that you've written on your paper to empower your intentions. So you can, whatever comes to your mind, right? I'll give you an example here. O holy divine one, O holy unity, through your power, I call upon the energies, powers, the wisdoms of Zeus, Athena, Aphrodite, and the holy divine feminine essence of creation to empower my intentions of the day, to bring me success, peace, joy, happiness, abundance, wisdom, to empower my ascension into the divine. I call upon the energies to bring all beneficent helpers into my life that will assist me in achieving my goals. And I call upon the energies attributed to these goals and aims, which I've written on this paper, to empower me at the highest level to help me to achieve my true purpose in life, and that nothing will enter my sphere of sensation that will draw me away from my true purpose, nor my connection from the divine or my higher genius. I empower my intentions with love, with wisdom, and with the unity of the divine. Amen. And then we bring our hands together in a prayer pose to seal the energy. And we just look at your paper, see it glowing with the energy of the divine. And then place it under your candle or other spiritual symbol. And then later on that day, before you go to bed, what you'll do is, again, you'll place your hands over and project energy into it. And now you'll thank the divinities which have come to assist you that day for providing the energy to help drive forth your personal success and goals. And then you can spend that time either going to bed, being grateful for the things of the day, or you could spend some time in positive contemplation there if you're not planning to go to bed right away. Just being grateful, going over all the things, whether they are on the paper or not, go over all the things that blessed you that day. And I'll tell you right now, maybe you feel like you have very little blessings, but once you start going over your blessings, you'll find that they grow and grow every day. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. I hope that it helped you to understand not only why we have the power to achieve and manifest, but that we deserve it, that we are divine children. We are the kings and queens of our kingdoms. We are gods and goddesses in the divine. We are divine children. We deserve it. And that we can utilize and leverage the power of science and our physical makeup to help build the foundation to bring goodness and manifest anything into our life. And also that you now have a practical technique that you can use every day to empower yourself. So lastly, before I sign off though, I did say I would just mention the topic of energetic, synastry. I gave you this technique, right? You could take it anywhere. You're traveling or whatnot, grab a piece of paper. You don't need any special tools or implements, right? But if you want to enhance the ambiance for yourself and the symbolism, incorporate symbolism to help help elevate, your consciousness through the use of oils, colors, etc. You can do that, right? Purple or green paper would be good. Green is associated with Venus. Purple is the planetary color of Jupiter. If you're working with other deities, look up their colors. If you're looking to empower a certain intention, you can look at color associations attributed to that. Flowers, incense, oils, music. These can all be incorporated into your daily ritual practice. You can utilize certain robes, different types of clothing to kind of trigger the mind that you're in a spiritual space. There's lots of things that you can do. And I can do an episode on utilizing symbols and different magical tools at some point for you. But I don't want you to feel like you only have to do it like this. Start out like this if you're brand new, you've never done it, right? And then, if you feel like you want to incorporate crystals or anything else, you can do some research into it. You can reach out to me. I'm happy to, give some advice on how to incorporate those into your personal spiritual and ritual practice. And I will look to do a follow-up episode on utilizing various tools to help enhance your spiritual practice. So I hope you all have a beautiful day. You know I love you. Do not forget to let yourself receive love as well as to project love. Love is the foundation of wisdom. Love is the foundation of manifesting anything. I am Athena Alaya. Thanks for joining me on Athena's Way. Have a beautiful day, everyone.